Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bel Air Beach City Council Work Session. This is April 27, 2026, and this meeting will now come to order. Kathy, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bankard.
Here.
Councilmember Elliott.
Here.
Councilmember Harper.
Here.
Councilmember Shirley.
Here.
Vice Mayor Roberts.
Here.
Mayor Gaddis.
Here.
City Manager Riefler.
Here.
City Attorney Trask.
Here. Thank you, Kathy. All right, everyone, please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into item 1 on our agenda. This is a presentation concerning antenna towers. Welcome Zain Hussein, who is the senior planner with Calvin Giordano and Associates. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Zain Hussein with CGA. I am happy to be here. As a little kid, I used to come to Bel Air Beach. I used to come to Bel Air Beach, Madeira Beach, and Safety Harbor. Those are my 3 big spots, so I'm happy to come and present in front of you today. But today we're here to talk about amateur radio code amendments, things to keep in mind for today and for future reference. We're going to be working with the attorney, Mr. Trask, on code amendments for future base. The goal out of what I want to talk about and the outcomes, we want to discuss the feasibility of desired code amendments, like SB 180 or 252.422. We want to identify the conflicts and issues that are underlying at this time and how to remedy those. We want to look at examples from other communities in the Pinellas County area, as well as the same size as Bel Air Beach. And then also we want to look at code update alternatives than what is currently existing and what can be proposed. Issues we're facing here right now are your state and federal regulations. You have your height and fall safety zones. You have what is defined in the code currently. What is there to support that? Let's say antennas, let's say towers for radio. And then also we want to look at building permits and process and what is and isn't applicable to be permitted. So if we look at federal state regulations, we're going to look at FCC PRB 1, which must provide a reasonable accommodation for radio communication towers. Now in this, that requires that any setbacks, height, and placement rules reasonably accommodate amateur communications and to be the minimum practical regulations. Overly restrictive setbacks that effectively block effective operations can be challenged. Now, as of Regulation SB 180, local governments may not implement a more restrictive or burdensome procedure concerning review, approval, or issuance of a site plan, development permit, or development order. Let's say like reduction in tower height. Now, the city may prepare a place order code for future adoption in 2028. Now, the Bel Air Beach existing code states that amateur radio antennas operated by a federally licensed amateur radio station operator shall be exempt from the provisions of this article. Other commercial telecom towers have design, placement, and height restrictions and only allowed in institutional zone districts at this time. Now, tower height, case law, I want to show you some cases which provide direction on tower height that may be considered for reasonable accommodation. If you look at Izzo, First River Edge in New Jersey, we talk about the effectiveness of radio communications on the height of the antennas and how that works. If you look at Brower versus Indian River County Code Enforcement Board, they had absolute prohibition on the tower over 70 feet in height and was held for facially void because deemed a flat prohibition at the time. If you look at Palmer versus Saratoga Springs, the absolute height limit was 20 feet, was preempted, And unvarying height restrictions on amateur radio antennas would be facially invalid in light of that PRB 1 statute we talked about. If you look at Snook and Missouri City, you'll see to conduct effective emergency communications, Snook must be able to achieve at least 75 to 90% successful signal under the changing variables that impact emergency or other amateur radio communications. And that was really decided on tower height. And then if you want to look at Pentel, this also talked about the reasonable accommodation requires an attempt to negotiate a satisfactory compromise with the town or city. Now, I want to talk about general examples from other communities. Now, we talked about that common modest setbacks that we were speaking of earlier. Setback requirements often require the full height of the tower to the very, very peak. So as you think, in some municipalities, you would think of, let's say, a residential single-family structure. Some go to the median of the structure, some go to the gable, to the eaves, and some go to the pitch, the peak of the height. In this situation for a tower of such, this will go to the full height and the full max of where the structure lies. If you look on height-based setbacks, more common for taller towers here, let's say 100% height in West Palm Beach or West Palm Beach County are examples to look at, and these address collapse risk in high winds issues, hurricane, bad storm, etc. And then safety focus here, we want to look at rules to aim to keep the fall radius within your property, especially critical in hurricane zones. I know Delaware Beach has been hit by hurricanes in the past, and one thing you want to see if a radio tower does collapse or fall, that you have a very safe focus on the area of that fall radius within the property. And last but not least, height restrictions. Most Florida cities restrict tower heights to 70 feet or lower without a documented safety or aesthetic justification. As we look at adjacent municipalities, you look at St. Petersburg, Port St. Lucia, Treasure Island, Clearwater, Largo, Bel Air, you will see some of the height regulations that they have. Let's say like St. Pete, maximum 75 feet height. Port Lucia or Treasure Island, 43 feet and a half by right. Treasure Island up to 70 feet with permitting. Clearwater up to 120 feet. You have Largo 12 feet above the highest roof peak. And then Bel Air is tower antenna max for height of 35 feet. You look at the setbacks within also the state, and then you also look at that placement there. Some say is as per the Land Development Code, some say only in rear yards. So as we look at potential update alternatives, we want to talk about clarifying the tower antenna building permit process. We want to look at clarifying the definitions that are currently in the code as such, for structure versus tower versus antenna. We want to look at the furthest projection of the structure. Again, if a hurricane comes or a bad storm and it does collapse or fall, where would it fall and would it be safe for the current property and adjacent in the area? You want to look at the height-based setbacks. Let's say that's 35 feet in height. It's 35 feet in height. Where would it be based off the adjacent area? Would it be in the rear? Would it be on the side? Would it be in the front? It just matters. And then also, again, where would it fall? And that's a fall safety zone. I'm here for any questions. Feel free to ask me. And we are right now going to be working with the attorney, Mr. Trask, on finding a remedy to help out with the code.
Council, any questions for our guest?
Are you going to send the council your presentation?
I can send you, yes. Absolutely.
Okay. I brought this up about 2 years ago now, because residents came to me. And I was able to get Senator Scott and Senator Rubio at the time to get me a meeting with the FCC. And they actually had a few of their people and an attorney. Now, I want to emphasize what they said. We're not going to give you legal advice. But they said where you live, you could possibly put a no tower restriction, but it would probably get challenged and overturned. So the best way to do this is put safety restrictions in by saying setbacks, like you explained, should be in an area where it shouldn't fall on anybody's house, or if it does, it's going to be minimal. Is that what I'm hearing on some of these setbacks? Because I see Bel Air only has a 35-foot radius, and some of your setbacks note height setback has to be equal.
I noticed
Correct.
Bel Air also has a 35-foot height limit, so
Yeah,
it
that's-
seems to me if they're able to do that, we could do the same.
I would hope we could even get more stringent with it. We're right on the water.
Now, I appreciate you saying that. As per that statute, SB 180, we can't make things more restrictive or stringent. I will say this, it's a great idea to look into having that applicable in the code and actually having that enforced by the code. So I would recommend having definitions. I would recommend having safety for false safety. I would recommend having a height max and a hard height max also with a setback.
Have you found anywhere where they say the lower the tower when the storm is approaching or there's a wind variation coming? I'm a former crane operator.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, at 35 miles an hour, we shut down, all right?
Understood.
And I'm talking with Lattice Boom, which these towers are. Have you found anywhere where it should be? Because the FCC said we're not saying you can do this or whatever, but it would be legally probably sustainable if you said 48 hours before a tropical storm approaches the area, the tower has to be set or lowered. And it can't be lifted until 48 hours after the storm.
So that would be a developer or building code question. Usually structures of this sort are structurally sound and they'll meet all building code regulations when built. Now, I will say this, I'll say like stairs or a ladder at a house, say Duke meter. I deal with those a lot. Duke meter, they wanted a side setback, but the problem is it won't fit in the side setback. Well, we'll just do a temporary so they could pull up, take it down if need be. Same thing in this situation, if it'll be allowed by the building code.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
As far as SB 180 goes, I thought that was specifically for the building itself and not necessarily things in people's yard. Is that not the case?
No, sir, you have to meet today's regulations. You can't make it more stringent, can't make it harder. SB 180, you're looking until 2028 right now. That was pretty much brought by the state statute at this time. Things will be changing in the future.
So every time we have a hurricane, we have to kick the problem down the road. That's pretty much what I'm hearing.
I will say this. It was brought as a statute for a reason. It is to not bring hardship to communities, areas, residents that had a very tough time with a hurricane and the storms that came in Bay. In 2028, things will change.
Okay.
And I will say that SB 180 has been something that I have dealt with in multiple municipalities, and it's been a hurdle.
All right. Tom, do you have any comments on this?
No, I definitely think that it has more than to do with the main structure. And he's quoted some of the provision in Senate Bill 180. It's more restrictive or burdensome procedure concerning review, approval, or issuance of a site plan, development permit, development order, and so on. So this would fall in with one of those permit application processes. So we definitely cannot make it more restrictive than it currently is until after 2028.
All right. Any other comments? Council?
Is that January 1st, 2028?
As soon as possible. I'll define the exact date. I'll let you know also when I give the PowerPoint.
Yes.
Is the city placeholder for future adoption, is that something that recommendations that we're putting that in motion now to have it in place?
I believe we can, but we can't actually enable it.
Correct.
So you would make your ordinance effective, whatever the date is, and then it would become effective on that date.
So when that rolls over, we're covered.
If you wanted to adopt something like that, the answer is yes.
Thank you.
All
So,
right.
yeah, just to advance, as per January 8th, 2028, this goes into effect.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions, Kyle?
So for next steps, can we put together sort of a template to work with?
Absolutely. If, I'll happily meet and we can think of next steps of what you want to add and how I can adjust anything for future amendments.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you for being here this evening. We appreciate all your help.
Appreciate you. Have a good day.
Thank
Thank you.
All right, next up is item number 2, a discussion of interlocal agreement with Bel Air Shore. All right, so let me explain how we got here, and then we'll have more discussion about it. All right, how did we get here? For 3 years, we all heard that the interlocal agreement that we currently have was unfair, poorly written, and full of holes. Because of it, our city was picking up the expenses. We heard they had no rights to use the lots, and we've seen them lock the gates, we've seen confrontations, we've witnessed a lawsuit that was settled for almost nothing. We've all known that the interlocal agreement needed to be rewritten. This is not new news. Everyone should remember that this was constantly preached to all of us for 3 straight years. Shortly after my election as mayor, the council voted to direct Attorney Randy Mora to write a new interlocal that would be fair to both communities. The goal was to close the gaps that were causing disputes between the 2 communities. Randy worked very hard to give us a first draft, and it was sent to Bel Air Shore to review. Today, we are no closer to approving and finalizing a new interlocal agreement than we were months ago. Yet for some reason, a few people have decided that their next mission is to demonize all who are involved. Me? I want a solution. I want a document that both communities will agree upon and shut down the constant bickering. When we began this project, we knew it would be difficult. We knew some people wouldn't like it. We also knew that there are some people in the community that won't be happy until this city winds up in litigation. I watched what happened in that last lawsuit. It wasn't good for either side. So now I'm asking the council to take another look at the changes Bel Air Shore has made. We are certainly entitled to make our own changes and send it right back to them again, as we already have. Ultimately, we can edit this thing until the 2 sides are in agreement, but that still doesn't finalize it. Both sides have to vote for approval, and both sides must have a public hearing with your time to speak for or against it. These things move very slowly because this group cannot discuss city business in private. This work session is the only time we actually plan our regular meetings, and as you can see on the agenda, there is much to cover. Bel Air Shore doesn't even have work sessions, so take into consideration that they move at half speed or worse. As for the misleading flyer that was distributed over the weekend, it warns that rights are being taken from you, but the draft repeatedly says the opposite. It recognizes Bel Air Beach residents' ability to use the lots, preserves pedestrian access, preserves existing parking spaces, keeps parking free for residents, and property owners of both municipalities and prevents either party from excluding the other's residence or vehicles for special events without written consent. The flyer uses alarmist language: forced, threat, taken from you, to describe what is essentially a cost-sharing and maintenance contract. While the agreement does introduce Bel Air Shore as a partner in managing these areas, it does not, and I repeat, it cannot legally dissolve the deeded property rights of Bel Air Beach residents. The letters claim that the city is giving away property is a legal inaccuracy designed to maximize turnout at tonight's council meeting and to enrage our community. Looks like it worked, huh? This is nothing new for the author who wants nothing to do with having a conversation with council members, instead attempting to incite a riot. I believe that this council is smart enough to see through the blatant misinformation. I believe we can logically hash this out, but here's where we are. Keep the old, draft the new, or just outright cancel the agreement altogether. Unlike the author of the flyer, I'm here tonight for solutions. Just because you see a piece of paper with an unknown author does not make it true. Just because someone elects to attack the council and mayor on social media does not make the post true. So here we are, council. Now I'm ready to go through this interlocal agreement. Right? Tom, would you like to make an introduction and let's start the discussion.
Yeah, so first of all, the interlocal agreement that we have in existence right now it has been in existence since 2003, and it does just a couple of things. It's
hard to hear.
I'm sorry, I'll pull it up closer. Thank you. It does just a couple of things, and let me just list them for you. The current agreement, because it does nothing more than these two things. The current agreement provides that the owners of properties and residents on the east side of Gulf Boulevard are given a license to use, and then it lists the three lots 21, 43, and 66. For the purposes of beach access, bathing, and related parking, and for no other purposes. The second item on the interlocal agreement provides that the city at its sole expense shall perform with the consent of the town any and all maintenance, repairs, replacements, alterations, and improvements to those three lots. In other words, the city takes on that responsibility of repair and maintenance. The third thing is that the city will furnish in writing to the town prior written approval of any proposal for any of the maintenance or repairs that are going to take place. The fourth item is that the city will indemnify and save them harmless for persons that are injured on the property. The fifth is, for identification purposes, the city at its sole expense shall institute and strictly enforce a method of identification of vehicles, parking, or other equally effective identification control method for the purpose of eliminating parking on those three lots. And then the last thing is that the agreement is in full force and effect until either party gives 60 days notice, then it goes away, it terminates. Those are the only things that the current interlocal agreement provides. When my partner Randy reviewed the agreement and prepared this document that you see the first page of up on the overhead, he went back through the deeds and provided as much factual information in those recitals, or what we list here is the whereas clauses, relative to the deeds that were involved that create the right. And those deeds were roughly in the year 1944. And I just want to go over the two important deeds because of the language that's used in the deeds, because there's some concern about a deeded right versus a license versus a revocable license what those things mean. So let's look at the deed. So the first deed was March 1st, 1944, and these 3 lots were owned by Kirkaby Hotels, Inc., and they conveyed them, these 3 lots, to Arnold Kirkaby. The deed specifically provides, I'm going to read it word for word. It's very long, it's several pages, but this is the only portion that deals with the 3 lots that we're talking about today. Said lots 21, 43, and 66, those are the 3 lots that we're talking about, of said Bel Air Beach, unit number 1, are hereby conveyed to the party of the second part, that's Mr. Kirkaby, upon the condition and subject to party of the second part, again Mr. Kirkaby, his heirs and assigns, retaining the same and giving and granting licenses to use the same for beach purposes. That's all it says, beach purposes. The next deed, that, and again it's referenced here in the whereas clauses, was a deed in May of 1944. And this was a deed from Mr. Kirkaby to a person by the name of Marguerite Hay, H-E-Y-E. And that deed, again, is very long, but the relevant portion of it dealing with these 3 lots, I'm going to read word for word for you again. The grantors, that's the Kirkabys, for themselves and for the heirs, executors, administrators, and assigns, do further covenant, promise, and agree that the grantee, and who is the grantee? Margaret Hay. Her heirs, executors, administrators, and assigns, in common with all other owners, present or future, of lots lying east of said road right-of-way, shall have a perpetual and irrevocable license, again the word is license, to use lots 21, 43, and 60 of Unit 1 of Bel Air Beach, the map of which is unrecorded, but which is attached to and made a part of a certain deed recorded in public records of Pinellas County on March 10, 1944, as instrument and Alyssa number for beach and bathing purposes. Again, licenses for beach and bathing purposes. The deed, again from Ms. Hay, then according to the next deed in the line up, would convey those 3 lots to the Bel Air Beach Improvement District. That was a deed that was recorded in 1948. It had the same language in it. It specifically says to be used for beach and bathing purposes by the owners of said real estate. In 1955, the Bel Air Beach Improvement District became the town of Gulf Bel Air. That Gulf Bel Air was the successor to Bel Air Beach Improvement District and is now named the town of Bel Air Shore. So, as a basis then, shifting that right that has been provided all through the deeds for beach and bathing purposes, that's all it provided. It now comes us to the point of 2003 where this first interlocal agreement came up, where there was discussion about, well, who should be maintaining it, the lots, who should be paying for the lots, who should maintain the gates, who should maintain the parking lot, those different types of things. They tried to resolve it in these 5 or 6 paragraphs that I read for you in the interlocal agreement in 2003. It's not working. That was the purpose of, as the mayor mentioned, the new interlocal agreement, so that we could figure out and solve these differences that keep coming about on a regular basis. The interlocal agreement that my partner prepared was prepared in 2022 and 2023. It came to this commission on a number of occasions for review, and for some reason or another, it died for lack of action. And it was brought up again by Mayor Gaddis wanting to get these issues resolved, and He came to the council and asked for authority to move this process along. And so we took the agreement that Randy had prepared, which is again up on the screen, and provided it to the attorney for the town of Bel Air Shore and the mayor and vice mayor for Bel Air Shore. And as a direct result of that, after a couple of weeks, they came back with some suggested changes. And if you can see the suggested changes, I'll just go through them. The mayor covered some of them, but the agenda package provides a strikeout underline format so that you can see exactly what the original language was proposed by Randy here in the city and what was requested to be changed to. And again, it's just negotiations back and forth. But the first thing is that there was going to be a survey in paragraph number 2 so that we can determine exactly what the geographical boundaries of the lots were. And the agreement that Randy prepared, trying to be even-handed, said we'll split the cost between the town and the city. The town of Bel Air Shore came back and said, no, we'll pay for that. They'll pay for the cost of that survey. That was paragraph number 2 of the change. Paragraph number 3, Randy had some language in the paragraph titled Beach and Bathing, and it specifically used the terminology deeded right, and that seems to be some issue for the public as I've seen. But as I've just read from the 3 deeds that deal with these 3 lots, they're not deeded rights. They are non-exclusive licenses. And each and every one of those deeds specifically refers to it as a license. So they made the language more in line with what the current deeds say. Instead of using the term deeded right, a non-exclusive license. What does non-exclusive license mean in this particular arena? Is it means that not only would Bel Air Beach get to use and its residents get to use the 3 lots, but also the town gets to use them too, so it's not exclusive. Paragraph 4 had provided under the title of pedestrian access, it had read, absent a lawfully declared state of emergency by federal, state, or county or town, the town shall not prevent or exclude the ability of pedestrians to access the beach through the lots at any time. And that was just changed to read, the town shall not prevent or exclude the ability of pedestrians from Bel Air Beach or Bel Air Shore to access the beach through the lot at any time. Pedestrian access will be free to residents of both Bel Air Beach and Bel Air Shore. So the change is basically what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Both the town and the city would address the pedestrian access. The next paragraph on beach patrol and maintenance, Randy had suggested that we keep in the language that the city of Bel Air Beach would continue to rake the beach and remove all large debris and pay for that. But the town says it wants to rake the beach and pay for it, basically taking away our maintenance responsibility there, but leaving open the possibility that if they need the city's help, they will pay the city for any of that beach raking that needs to be done or could be done. Next, there was mention under the beach patrol and maintenance paragraph relative to the seawalls that have been now exposed because of the weather. We had provided in the agreement that we would divide the cost equally for inspection, maintaining, repairing, and restoring the seawalls. The town will now take on that responsibility at their request. No cost to the city then. Paragraph number 6, dealing with parking. That's the paragraph that says that the parties agree that parking has historically been and remains an integral part of accessing and using the lots for the purpose of beach and bathing purposes. And it goes on and says, to that end, it's the party's understanding that the city at its own expense has improved the lots by constructing and maintaining the asphalt area. They just labeled that as parking facilities, in quotes. That's what they added. And then it continues on, and other improvements such as irrigation on the lots for the use and benefit of those persons entitled to use those lots. So it's just reaffirming that the city has provided it and has maintained it, but they added a sentence. It says the parties also agree that the license does not mention parking facilities. And that's true. You remember when I read those 3 provisions in the deeds? It doesn't say anything about parking. They're just making it known that the license does not specifically address parking. Continuing on the parking aspect of it, there was a provision dealing with parking access that had read, the parties agree the property owners and the residents of Bel Air Beach shall have access to the lots. They've just added their name. So it reads that the residents of Bel Air Beach and Bel Air Shore have access to the lots. Under the parking lot structures and maintenance in the towing paragraph, it had previously read that the city would contribute to half of the costs associated with towing activities on the lots. They've changed that language to reflect that they're going to be responsible for that cost. Again, a cost saving to the city. As for trash pickup, historically the city was responsible for maintaining and managing and retrieving the contents of the trash receptacles. They wanted to change the agreement to reflect that they will do that at their cost. Under irrigation, it previously said that the city installed the irrigation and the city would inspect and maintain that irrigation. Now it says the town will do that and pay the cost. The same with vegetation. The town will now remove, replace, and maintain the vegetation. Lastly, there's a provision in paragraph number 8 dealing with indemnification. And there had been language, I'm just going to read it to you. It says, nothing in this agreement shall be construed to extend such indemnification to legislative enactments of the town or its executive or administrative policies, procedures, or actions governing or relating to the use of the lots or the beaches within the town's corporate limits. That was changed to town and city agree to equally share litigation costs if either side is sued for regarding negligence, legislative enactments, enforcement actions, procedures, executive or administrative policies regarding the use or boundaries of the lots. So that is the last change that is being proposed in the agreement as written. Where it was left off with the town of Bel Air, after they provided us their comments, we advised them that we would be coming back to this council for discussion and consideration, and then we would go back to them again with any other, whether their suggested changes are acceptable, and then any other changes that we feel that are necessary. So that's the stage that we're at right now. So, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Tom. All right, so I'll open the floor for discussion. Kim, do you have anything you'd like to add at this time?
The one question that popped out for me regarding section 7, structures and maintenance. The city of Bel Air Shore has proposed assuming responsibility for the various maintenance arrangements. What might we include to provide some sort of enforcement proceeding on behalf of Bel Air Beach? So if, for instance, they only clear out trash twice a week and we have overflowing trash cans, how do we address that kind of issue? If the parking lot is in disrepair, how do we address that and get more enforcement under the agreement?
So at this point, legally, we have no right to tell them what they are to do or not do, other than provide us with beach access and bathing. So, as for how can we make sure that they do what they're going to say in the agreement, If you're not satisfied with what they're doing in the agreement, you can terminate it within 60 days. I would assume that if there was a concern that we would have that they're not complying with it, we would have the city manager to write a letter to the mayor of Bel Air Shore and ask them to address it and provide us with, the time frame that they were going to be able to address it. But legally, we have no way to force that. And I'm not so sure adding a provision in the agreement to enforce that is going to be something that they would agree to. I'd be happy to address that, though. If you have some specific language or something that you're in particular concerned about, we could attempt to address it. So.
Anything else?
Nothing else from me.
All right. Councilmember Sherwood?
Yeah, my comments are right along the same lines, and I brought this up to Mr. Trask as well. But I would prefer to see our city keep control of maintenance.
I'm going to ask everyone to hold your applause and laughters and comments and let us get through this. Okay, we've got a lot of material to cover.
And it's clear that they're willing to share in the cost, so maybe we just do to be fair and equitable, we just do a 50-50 split of cost. They reimburse city 50% of whatever those costs for maintaining. I also would like to include the gates in that maintenance program, allowing city to add a man gate, I'll call it, a walk-through gate. So if the gates are locked because it's after hours and you want to take a stroll on the beach, full moon, whatever, you can. And we have some sort of locking mechanism.
Yes.
I believe that's it, Mr. Gaddis.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Harper.
I think in looking through the document, it's considerably full of Bel Air Shores and Bel Air Beach. So I think along the sentiment of standardizing maintenance as a shared responsibility and as a shared attribute for both communities is fair. I think putting responsibility on their side or our side does not offer anything other than an imbalance to our side or their side. So I think the idea of 50-50 co-share, I wholly applaud the idea of putting pedestrian gates in or having that level of access, and the idea of any one municipality having control completely of the deeded access is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a balanced approach that matches the needs of both communities.
All right, thank you very much. Let's go down to Councilmember Banker.
Let's start with the survey. They will pay for the markers. I don't know if any of you guys watch the TV, keep up with present news, go up to Walton County, all right? There is massive lawsuits up there. People are saying if you go this side of the water, that side of the water, one lady's being sued by this Backstreet Boys singer because she was sitting apparently on her beach. He's got millions to spend. They did a GoFundMe page of $70,000. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these 80-foot lots and then we're going to put markers. Now at high tide, you better not go left, you better not go right. Because if you do, that's a trespass. All right? The other thing is, they're trying to remove your ECL line. Commissioner Story, Vice Premier Story, and Bloom, and the rest of them have said, if we get the ECL line removed, we will own to the water. We won't be able to keep people from traversing as long as they stay in the water, but we will be able to keep them off the beach. It went as far as we can keep the turtle people off the beach and they won't be able to set up any more of their nests. These are the sweethearts across the street. Now, I go to the Bel Air Shores meetings, not because I don't have a life, all right, but because I don't trust them. The mayor goes once in a great while. I go, as Mr. Bloom says, more than their commissioners. So I hear what's on their agenda. Let's go with parking. They clearly write in the thing, parking's not in the deeds. Absolutely correct. What have they said about parking? We could tear the parking lots up and put them back to the sand that was created when the deeds were there. We give up any maintenance that we've been doing for decades. We will not get that back. Mr. Trask says, just write a letter saying we want to go back 60 days and we get it all back. No, 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 no. A judge is going to say, you gave it up after decades of doing it. Therefore, you're not getting it back. They don't have a public works department. Who's going to pick up the trash? I'll tell you who. They're not going to have trash cans there. All right? So you better take a bag and bring the trash with you. The benches, people in this audience have come to me to get more benches. We got more benches. They have complained about you people at Sunset talking too loud on the platforms and the benches should be removed.
Councilmember Banker, would you please lower your voice?
Okay, am I talking too loud for anybody?
All right, so here's what we're gonna
No,
do.
I'm not done. All right, you gave me the floor. I'm not done.
No, we're not
The
inciting.
raking
Point
issue.
of order.
Okay, the raking issue. All right, last week, Tuesday, not even 7 days, they raked the beach once, and Bloom says we're not raking it again. This is what we're dealing with here. These are dishonest people. They don't care about you at all. I've asked this council twice. I don't know how many agreements have gone back and forth. All right? I asked this council twice in the last year and a half. Tell me one good thing Bel Air Shores has done for any of us. I can still throw that out there. All right? Nothing. They want this agreement to take away what is gifted to you. You are the landowners. This council, me, all right, don't have any rights to take away what was gifted to you in those deeds. All right? Every landowner perpetually has those rights. You sell your house, it goes to the next landowner. But this council can be stupid enough to give away the maintenance, and stupid enough to give away the benches, stupid enough to give away the platforms. Okay? You think after Helene wrecked those three access points, we would still be locked out of those access points if we allowed Bel Air Shores to put us, or to restore them to the way they are today.
Right.
I planted grass there. A lot of people in this room planted grass there. They made comments. We don't have to have the grass there. The irrigation's in the agreement. They can rip it out tomorrow. So that's my comments.
All right, thank you, Mr. Baker. Now so what I'm hearing is that you don't want to give up maintenance.
Well, what I'm hearing is all our lots, okay? This is Bel Air Shores taking public sand when they reclaimed it at Morgan Park. See all the mounds, okay? They dumped it in front of their properties. 6th Street lost 3 feet of sand. We didn't get a bucket full. All right? 12th Street lost sand. 1880 lost sand. When I brought this up at Bel Air Shores, they said, oh, we don't know how it got there. All right? All right? But when they did the beach renourishment, they raised all kinds of hell about the equipment going up and down the beach and made Weeks Marine, who I work for, okay, keep their equipment east, and the county had to put markers up, and they had to move the equipment at low tide. And they also said that'll never happen again once we get the ECL removed.
Vice Mayor Roberts.
I have nothing to add at this time.
All right, thank you very much. So what I noticed, the one change that I, go back to where it was, the indemnification, they basically want us to split 50-50, pretty much any lawsuit. I'm not for that. It's whenever if we created an ordinance that they didn't like and they decided to sue us, I wouldn't expect the two communities to split the cost. The same goes with them. Whenever they do something dumb, like an umbrella ordinance, something like that, if they get sued, well, that's on them, because that's something that they're doing. On the other hand, if we're sharing the lot and someone has a slip and fall at Morgan Park, that's on us. But at one of the three lots, I would recommend that we absolutely split the cost, because someone's responsible for it. We have to be fair about it. As far as all of these other things that they're wanting 50-50 no matter who sues, I know that right now there's a crowd right here tonight that would love to sue Bel Air Shore, and I don't agree with if they do get sued for something dumb that we pay a dime for it. Also, Councilmember Bankert is right. His delivery is very strong, but same way. I really don't appreciate just giving full control, and in return they get to use access of their own lots. They get to use it anyway. It's crystal clear that it's just that they're. I think that they are wanting more control over what they've got. So I think the proper suggestion is to just go back through this everywhere where they have removed us and said they are solely responsible. We just need to take a look at it and determine, is it in our best interest to give that up? Tom, do you have any comments on that?
No, I'm happy to sit back and take direction, and we'll create another draft.
Okay. Also, bear in mind that this is not even an agenda item for the next meeting. All right. This is strictly, we're going to suggest changes. We're going to send it back over to Bel Air Shore. They're going to suggest changes, and it may not do anything. But one of the questions that keeps coming up is, well, do we just live with what we've got and leave it alone? Or do we, because 3 years ago, everybody wanted it changed. And so I need some direction, and that's where you don't jump up and scream at us. You make a phone call or send us an email and tell us what your ideas are, instead of you're evil and you're trying to screw us, because that's not our goal. Our goal is to try to solve a problem that we know exists. So you can either choose to live with that problem or give us ample space to try to resolve the problems. And that's all that we're asking. Do we have any other comments, or would everyone like to just go through these red lines and send an email to Tom? And then, Tom, as soon as you've got it compiled, would you just email it out, and we will make sure that it's publicly posted somewhere so everyone can review it and give us your feedback.
Thank you. May I ask that we make available on the website the original interlocal agreement, so those folks who haven't seen it, they can compare that to what's been proposed? Because I think there's a lot of miscommunication as to what's existing. There's already an interlocal agreement in place and in force, and it's existing. So if you're coming here with suggestions, I would suggest you take a look at that compared to what we have a draft of. It would be very helpful. So if we can make those two things available. And I'll just close in saying that if you're concerned about beaches, you should pay attention to this erosion control line. Several of their minutes from their past meetings address that. They've got a petition where they're trying to get, and I'm going to assume this is the federal government, or is it the state?
It's with the state.
That they're trying to get it removed, and that would more restrict your beach use than the accesses, what we're working on with the accesses. So you probably should ask for a copy of that petition they're sending around for the residents to sign, take a look at what they're proposing, and talk to the state about it. Because that's going to cause more damage to our beach accesses than anything else.
I'll also add that if it does come to a point to where Florida, the state of Florida, is actively reviewing the ECL and possibly abolishing it or eliminating it, the city of Bel Air Beach has every right to do the same type of petition and send it to the state of Florida. Because if they look at the history, all of the friction that has been between our two communities, if they know the true history of why those laws exist and what they're doing there, I believe they will side in our favor that they're specifically, strategically trying to create more conflict and make it harder for us to enjoy the beaches that I don't think they're anyone's beaches but God's beaches. So we'll just keep watching, and if we think we need to get proactive on this and circulate a petition, we'll do it. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I have a few other points here. I mean, I don't have a problem with Attorney Trask, but I do have a problem with Attorney Trask negotiating this agreement. Because I want to read a section that's been in the consent agenda. When the gates were being locked, and I won't read the whole thing. It says, council members expressed views, but the consensus was to postpone sending a letter unless another locking incident occurred. Attorney Trask noted that his firm would represent Bel Air Shores if litigation arises, but no lawsuit has been filed today. I have a big problem with it. Here is their chief negotiator, okay? I can't 1,000% prove it, but he's facing a host of money laundering, illegal gambling, okay? Okay? You can pull it up when he's also, this is their vice mayor, okay? This is who's negotiating for them. Now, you wonder why I get upset, all right? I retired here to use the beach, not to be harassed, all right? But if we're not going to have a council that's going to fight for us, then this is sickening.
Once again, thank you, Mr. Baker, for looking out for us. What would we do without you?
I really, well, you would give everything away probably, I don't know.
You know, I don't think that I've given anything away, and we're just having a conversation.
This should be used. This
should not be a conversation that even includes you, because you do not want to reach an agreement. You do not want to come to a resolution with this community whatsoever.
You are absolutely correct. I don't want to reach an agreement with a bunch of people that are dishonest.
Well, at least now we know. At least now we know.
Do you?
You know what? I want to put the arguments between the two communities to bed. And all I see is you going over there and poking the bear every chance you get. You are the biggest catalyst between our community and that community that I have ever seen. And I am really very disappointed in your behavior and the way that you're handling this conversation, because I'm trying to get through this very calmly. And
for the fourth time, Mr. Mayor, what nicety have they ever done for us?
I don't see any of them.
Thank you. Thank you. How long you lived here? A week?
I don't see any of them here.
What?
It's you.
What nicety has Bel Air Shores done for Bel Air Beach? We've raked their beaches. We've moved their stuff. They've called our public works department. We've expended taxpayers' money.
I can see why we have so
them.
many upset residents, because we have a misinformed residents.
We're not misinformed.
Many of you do not have who's seen the first interlocal agreement.
I saw many people saying they would like us to see it. So we got a few people. So let's just take a look at it and come at this more of a common sense format, rather than yelling and screaming. And we're getting a lot of, clearly, I see who riled up the neighborhood. And I would like to just, if you all want to talk to us, but don't come in here yelling and screaming. That doesn't solve the issue.
Why don't we let the people talk rather than accusing who riled up the neighborhood? Sorry. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry for mentioning.
No,
Why
we don't
would we
do that.
give you, the taxpayers, the right to talk?
Yeah, just go right ahead.
But when he wants to have people come in at a work session to talk, that's okay.
Frank for mayor.
Please resign to run.
I don't need to resign. Show me that in the charter. I still have another year and a half. And if you want to talk about the elections, let's talk about the elections.
That's not on the agenda.
What happened,
Thank you
what
very
happened
much.
to the one of last year?
I'll tell you what.
Okay, can we move on to the agenda as
Okay, so
scheduled?
now we are on agenda item number 3. This is Code Review, Chapter 54, Rental Registration.
I'm making a motion from the floor to allow the public to have comment. Would you present that, Council?
I made a motion and I couldn't get, I make a motion on the floor and have the public speak. Do I have a second?
You can speak whenever we bring it up for a vote. Thank you very much.
Make a motion. There's a
I
motion.
can't-
What's the vote, Council? You made a motion. We need a majority of the council to allow public comment. Mayor, take a vote. Who votes to allow public comment? Raise your hand.
Sir, you did an awesome job.
People came here, this is the best attendance I've ever seen. When I was bothered by the sheriff, okay, because they sicked the sheriff on my wife and I when we went through the walkthrough, okay, and I came to complain. You know how many people were here? 1. That's big. These people want to know what's going on with them. We don't want to give them anything until they give us something.
Yes.
Let me tell you something about the ECL, okay? I have spoken to DEP. It's not discretionary. The statute says it's mandatory. They're within 123 linear feet of getting 50% to remove the ECL. Talk to the EPA administrators. The statute says they shall remove it. They will replace it with the mean high water line. When they do that, okay, they're going to own to the water and into the water, and we're going to be walking in the cold water in January. Talk about the fact that that original draft of the ECL allowed their contractors, Bel Air Shore contractors, to park in those parking lots. If you measure, okay, if you go ahead and you measure the access lots, you're going to stake them, they're going to stake them, and then the sheriff will be out there trespassing us when we cut too closely to the seawall. The Tona versus Tonarama 1974 Council says that we have a customary right to the dry sand, and they're trying to eliminate that gradually. So why do we want to give them anything?
Yes.
Why do they need to park their contractors on their lots when your own regulations say that my contractor has to park in my driveway? They have 2, 3, 4, 5 car garages. Why do they need those parking lots at all? Okay? You're not answering any of these questions. It is a one-sided agreement. You are colluding with Bel Air Shore, and we don't like it.
you afraid of? You don't want to hear what I have to say, do you? I promised I would be nice. Okay, let me speak for
This meeting is adjourned.